So you've decided to take your first freediving course, but how are you going to find this course? I mean, what school should you look for? Is it maybe more about the instructor? What certification organization should you choose? I mean, there are so many questions. And in this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to choose your first freediving course. Coming up. What's up guys, 10 tips to choose your first freediving course. If you're new to this channel, my name is Gert Leroy, helping you master freediving. And honestly, when I started freediving, my life has simply changed for the better. Freediving gave me a space, a way to relax my mind and let go of all my tension. I have found my peace. And now I want you to find your peace through the practicing of freediving. So if you like the idea, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell. Alright guys, before we get started, it's very important to know that you do not freedive alone. The number one rule in freediving is to always dive with a buddy or never freedive alone. Now why is that? In case of emergency, when something goes wrong, you need a skilled buddy that can perform a rescue, so basically he or she can save your life. If safety rules are respected, then freediving is one of the safest sports out there, but you have to respect the rules. So, how do we get started? Well, there is really no other answer to this question than to go follow your first freediving course with a certified instructor. It's the most simple and safest way to get you started. In this video, I will share 10 tips on how to choose your first freediving course so you can experience the beauty of this magnificent art called freediving and fall in love just like I did. You must watch it from the beginning all the way to the end. Yes, that's right. If you want to learn to freedive, because this video is that important. So let's get started. Tip number 1, Google search. Google the keywords freediving or freedive plus the name of the country of the region you plan to visit. For instance, freediving plus Panglao, freedive plus Menorca, freedive plus Mallorca, and you will already come up with a lot of results. Now that was an easy one, right? Tip number 2, use the following platforms. Where2freedive.com is an overview of freediving schools worldwide. It is also a site that I created and I manage. You can search per continent or per country, or you can search per certification organization. Or you can simply look at the map and find your school. Next site, myfreedivinginstructor.com. This is a site from another fellow Belgian freediver. Compare and book freediving courses worldwide. Okay, so now you found a school or freelance instructor, so now let's take a look at the certification organizations. Tip number 3, guess what? Certification organizations. Courses are written and structured by certification organizations such as ADA, PADI, Apnea Total, Molchanov's, SSI, etc. After completing the course, you will receive a certification from that specific certification organization. So what organization should you go for? Well, the answer is it doesn't really matter. All organizations teach courses at high-level standards, although some things might be a little bit different. And here I will give you a short overview of the most common certification organizations that are in business in 2020. If anyone is in business in 2020, but that's another subject. ADA, International Association for the Development of Apnea. This non-profit organization is run by passionate freedivers, athletes or instructors or medical practitioners, etc. The course material is well structured and will have you go through almost every aspect of the sport. Aside from education, ADA also sets the standards for safety and international competitions. SSI, Scuba Schools International. Similar to ADA in terms of material content and requirements, what is more, you'll get access to the educational material through the My SSI app. Even though the company started with teaching scuba diving, hence the name, they have been in the freediving business for a long time now, are widely spread and have a good recognition. Apnea Total. The Apnea Total education system was developed to create the best possible experience for the students. You can consider their courses more like an experience instead of outlined rules and chapters to follow. They focus on bringing you the love for freediving and requirements, how deep you go in a course, or secondary. It is with this organization I took my first steps into freediving all the way to instructor level. Molchanov's, made by the best freediver in the world, Natalia Molchanova. Using quite in-depth education material and focused on performance and competition, this is where you will find a large community of active freedivers online. Upon completion of a course, students get access to the base training, a well-designed and updated training program. This education system is run now by Natalia's son, multiple world champion Alexei Molchanov. PADI, Professional Association of Diving Instructors. probably the most well-known organization of the above. Originally exclusively in the scuba diving business, PADI is now teaching freediving as well. Quite some, but not all, PADI freediving instructors are actually scuba diving instructors with little training into freediving. When you search for a PADI instructor, make sure she or he has enough experience in freediving. If you decide to continue freediving and follow more advanced courses, you'll most likely try out different schools and locations, and the chance that you will end up in a school that provides a course under another certification organization is pretty much existent, it's pretty real. And that's why most schools accept students that come from a different organization, because they want you as a client, and after all, it's business we're talking about. So don't worry where you can use your certification for more advanced courses. You will be accepted in different schools anyway. Also, if you are already thinking about becoming an instructor, then do not choose your certification organization in function of future employment. It's too soon. Once again, you will try different organizations anyway, and schools offer something that we call crossovers, which are small courses that basically convert an instructor from one organization to another one. Tip number 4, how many students? Another thing to take into consideration is how many students your instructor will handle at once. As freediving requires a lot of personal attention, I would say 3 students per instructor is a maximum. Anything more than that and you know you will not get full attention. So ask the school you will sign up with how many students there will be in the class. So if it's not about the organization, then what is it about? Well, the answer is very simple. It's about your instructor, but how do you know you have a good instructor? Well, that ain't so easy either, because when you book a course, you don't really know who's gonna be your instructor, but you can still ask a couple of questions. So what attributes should you look for in an instructor? Tip number 5, look for an open mind. There is no best way to teach someone to learn to freedive, and there are different ways to bring a student to a higher level. A freediving course can only provide you as much information as you can possibly absorb and digest in that particular day. It's a start, it's a solid start, it's a good start, but there is more to freediving than what you will learn in a course. From my own experience, I can tell you that there are some instructors that have a real hard time to accept different approaches that are not in line with what they are teaching, approaches that are not in line with the organization they are teaching under. However, every certification organization brings good value to the table. The emphasis might be a bit on different things, the approach might be a little bit different, but in the end, they all bring high-quality courses. If your instructor does not understand this and makes derogatory comments about other certification organizations, then that should definitely raise concern. Just because one way leads to Rome doesn't mean there aren't any other ways that can lead to the same destination. And that brings us to tip number 6, experience. It's a good thing if your instructor has engaged in some kind of advanced training program, a deeper training program, after he or she has completed their instructor's course, and preferably also with other people he or she was used to diving with. Or maybe your instructor finds the time to keep on training while he or she is teaching courses. Why am I saying all of this? Is an instructor that goes deep a better instructor than someone who goes not that deep? Well, not necessarily. It's more about the mindset. In the previous point, I talked about having an open mind. Well, imagine having done your whole education under one education system, including your instructor's course. Then that is all you know. You don't understand that besides your world, there is another world with different ideas, different approaches, that can be as good as your world. When you train with different people from different locations, you will meet people from all over the world. Different approaches, different mentality, different ideas, and your world will expand. Your mind will open up. You will understand that by completing an instructor's course, you're merely starting your freediving journey. It hasn't ended. No, it's just starting. You still have to learn so much. Tip number 7, what is really important? Well, here's my answer. Stay away from numbers and requirements. A requirement is a certain achievement you should be able to complete to be able to proceed to the next certification level. It is how most systems are built. It's a way for your instructor to know if you're good enough to proceed to the next level. Me personally, I don't like this approach at all. From my own experience, I've seen way too many students get paralyzed by these numbers. And during the water session, it's all they can think of. It takes away the joy of freediving and puts unnecessary stress on the students. I just don't see why a beginner student should achieve a certain depth or a certain distance or a certain breath hold. It's just the beginning. You're just starting to learn something. All that should matter at this stage is just bringing you the love for freediving. Remember, you are paying for your course to learn something and not to show your instructor what you can do. So focus on the learning process. Now that being said, most systems have some kind of requirement system. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's up to your instructor to be flexible about this. If you as a student have potential to grow, but for some reason you didn't make the requirement that day, then it would be extremely disappointing to not receive the certification for that course just because you couldn't achieve the requirement that particular day. I mean, there can be so many reasons why you didn't get the depth. You might have sticky ears, you might have been tired or a little bit sick. And if you're traveling, and most students are traveling and they just spend like 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a certain location, and you simply don't have time anymore because you have to fly back to your country, I mean, how does that feel when you don't get your certification just because you didn't get the requirements? You know you can do it. You just need a little bit more time. You'd probably be very frustrated about it and maybe even give up on freediving. Let me give you an example. Let's say the requirement for a 2-day beginner's course would be 20 meters deep. But you can only make it to 16 meters. Well, first of all, 16 meters is a huge dive. Congratulations. But your instructor doesn't see it that way. He or she thinks that you should book some extra coaching sessions until you reach 20 meters and then you'll get your certification. But you have to travel back home because your vacation is over. So how does that feel? As an instructor, I think you should never put your students in this place. Better is to certify right away and advise your students to book some extra coaching sessions at another school at a later time, and then your student will be ready to go for a next certification to proceed to a next level. Believe me, your student will thank you. Tip number 8, psychology. Teaching is about psychology. Every student has a different personality. As an instructor, you want to be able to read your students. Now, this requires experience and a solid instructor's course with the emphasis on teaching and not just simply on transferring knowledge. Anyone can transfer knowledge. What you need is an instructor that can see what you're struggling with. Someone who understands why you're having certain issues that prevent you from, for instance, clearing your ears or holding your breath a little longer. Freediving is a skill that requires time to learn, and that brings us to tip number 9, patience. Your instructor needs to understand that you need time to digest information and make progression as a freediver. Patience with students is very important. Some instructors, however, consider your achievements, like how deep you can go, as a personal achievement and brag about how they coached another student to a maximum depth. When this is the case, you will feel pressure during your water session. You will feel that your instructor is trying to get you to the maximum depth for that day, instead of focusing on how you feel, instead of bringing you the love for freediving. You're not there to satisfy your instructor. You're there to learn. Find someone who is mature enough to let you take your time. Tip number 10, feel good. Have a good feeling about your instructor. Yeah, that's as simple as it is. I mean, you're going to spend some time in the water with this person and you're going to do something that's totally new to you. You're going to dive on breath holds. So you better make sure you feel comfortable in the presence of this person. It's important to have faith in your instructor, to trust your instructor. If you feel good around your instructor, you'll most likely enjoy your session. And when you enjoy freediving, you freedive better. So guys, if you want to go over these 10 tips again, I have compiled this whole video in a free downloadable ebook. I'll put the link up here and in the description down below. Question of the day, which of these 10 tips is the most important for you? And let us know why that is in the comments. And if you want to know more about mastering freediving, then hit the round subscribe button here. And here I have a video with 5 reasons on why you should learn to freedive. So go ahead and click on that. That's it guys, see you next time. Peace in every breath.